And hello, Austin, Texas. It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show here on Co-op Radio, streaming at koop.org. It's radio for people, not for profit. Again, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, and I'm Mike Wheat. Each week on our show, we go beyond the stacks, get to know the people and programs that make the library a hub of learning, technology, and inspiration for our community. I'd like to give a thanks to the kind folks at Writing on the Air for their continuous shout-outs about our show as they leave. As I mentioned, today we're going to have a conversation with Bill Donaldson again. This time he's going to talk about Carver Branch's open mic event called Read It, Sing It, Let Us Hear It. Welcome back to the studio, Bill.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Last time we had you on, you were talking about your fun bad cinema film festivals and showcases that you do at Carver Branch. How's that been going?
Pretty well. We had a terrific crowd for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians in December, and we've got a bad film festival coming up in March, the Dead by Popular Demand Bad Film Festival, with some terrific films coming up.
Great. And for our listeners who didn't catch your previous interview we had you on maybe a couple weeks back, let's get a little bit about your background. You moved to Austin back in when?
I moved to Austin in early '07.
And did you immediately start working at the library?
No, it took a while to get on with the Austin Public Library, but that was a big reason that I moved to Austin in the first place.
That's right. And most of your background at that point had been in film?
I had background in film. I had background in music through working for a recording studio for a number of years in Los Angeles. I had worked at hotels, and I worked for 13 years as a self-employed stained glass artist.
So we were talking mostly about film last time, I guess,
Yes.
Because of the subject of the matter.
That was my first
the
job.
Bad film festivals, right. And you had got to work with a legend at some point.
Mr. Roger Corman himself.
That's right. So we didn't get to talk last time much about your music background, though.
Well, I was raised around musicians. My father was a musician. My stepfather was a musician, and in my early teens, I worked as a roadie for his band. One of his band members gave me my first instrument, which I had to reassemble and learn to work on before learning to play. But I was probably 18 before I actually learned an instrument.
What was the first one?
I learned bass guitar crudely before learning electric guitar. And I approached music from a standpoint of having been writing poetry for a number of years and hearing the music in my head but having no way to get it out.
So just out of frustration, you already had these words, this passion, a topic you wanted to get out there.
Yes.
But now you had to find the final part.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm guessing this is what leads us into what we're here to talk about. You're taking your love for film and all kinds of media, and now you want to get a program going where you get to get everybody in Austin to share that.
Well, yes. We've had a great success with the bad film festivals, and I had the thought a few months ago of what if we could do an open mic program once a month at the library. And I wrote up the proposal. Much to my surprise, it was approved just right away. I kind of thought that they would fight me on it or go, "What is this?" But no, they said, "Oh, okay, let's do this."
Well, they trust you.
And so, of course, the first thought is, okay, let's do music. But as it developed, it was, well, there are musicians out there. There are poets out there. There are writers of prose out there. There are people out there who simply want to do performance art.
Right.
And we're open to it all, as long, of course, as it's appropriate to a library setting.
Well, you mentioned, and they're welcome to wear costumes.
Well, the running joke is that if someone wants to appear dressed in a cucumber costume and recite Richard III for 15 minutes, we'd be more than happy to have them.
Oh, yeah. Let me know where you find that cucumber costume. I think I want one in my closet. Awesome. Well, Bill, we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear about some of the events happening all around town from our three favorite librarians, and then a couple of announcements from the co-op. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Bill Donaldson.
My name is Blair Parsons, and I am a reference librarian at the Falk Central Library. Saturday, February 11th, the University Hills Branch Library hosts Eat, a Feast in 4 Courses. This gathering's featured course is soups and salads. Participants may sample delicious soups and salads, then make their own mason jar dry mix to take home. Eat, a Feast in 4 Courses is Saturday, February 11th, noon to 2 o'clock at the University Hills Branch Library. The Carver Branch Library offers evening coding classes open to adults and youth. The next class is Tuesday evening, February 14th, from 6 o'clock to 7:30 at the Carver Branch Library.
Hey, this is Kathleen Houlihan, the teen librarian at the Falk Center Library downtown, bringing you all the teen and tween events happening across the Austin Public Library system for the upcoming week. This Thursday, February 16th, the Twin Oaks branch will host free play gaming at 3:30 p.m., and the Spicewood Springs branch will be holding their teen book club at 6:30 p.m. They'll be discussing Burn, Baby Burn by Meg Medina, a historical YA novel that takes place in New York City during the summer of the Son of Sam killings. Then on Saturday, February 18th, at the Ruiz branch, teens can learn to express themselves through media and technology at 1 p.m. And on Tuesday, February 21st, at 6:30 p.m., there's a teen book club at the Howson branch on Brittany Caballero's YA novel, A Study in Charlotte, a modern-day retelling of the Sherlock and Holmes story as seen through the eyes of their descendants. More library programs and details are at library.austintexas.gov/events.
This is Ann Minner, Youth Services Manager and Children's Librarian at the Old Quarry Branch. I get to tell you about the Austin Public Library events happening for children this week. We love babies at the library and are happy to offer lap-sit storytime programs designed especially for babies and their caregivers. These programs highlight very short stories interdispersed with songs, rhymes, and finger plays to enhance early literacy. A brief playtime follows, making this a great time to meet new friends. These programs are best suited to pre-walkers for everyone's safety. This week and through February, Books and Babies programs are being offered at the following locations and times. Thursdays at 11 a.m. at the Millwood Branch, Mondays at 2 p.m. at the Twin Oaks Branch, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. at the North Village Branch, and Tuesdays at 2 p.m. at the Howson Branch, and Wednesdays at 11 a.m. at the Pleasant Hill Branch, 2 p.m. at the Willie Mae Kirk Branch, and 2 p.m. at the Yarborough Branch. Details about the Storytime schedule that continues through February are at library.austintexas.gov/storytimes.
Austin Book Arts Center is a new nonprofit teaching book arts to promote literacy. Our classes include bookbinding, letterpress printing, calligraphy, book repair, and decorative papermaking. More info at atxbookarts.org.
Are you being mocked by an old car, truck, or boat that you just can't rid yourself of?
Leave me alone!
Then it's time to let Co-op's car donation program solve this problem. Just call 877-750-KOOP and we'll come and heave that tormentor away for free.
That's too wonderful to be true!
That's right. We'll take the old rust bucket off your hands and leave in its place a shiny new tax receipt suitable for framing. That number again is 877-750-KOOP. Co-op's car donation program. Do it for your peace of mind.
And welcome back to Volumes. Just before that break, we were talking with our guest, Bill Donaldson, about the Carver Branch open mic events called Read It, Sing It, and Let Us Hear It. And we talked a little bit about what kind of performances, but tell us again, what type of performances are you seeking for these events?
Well, of course, we want to look at the singer-songwriter who just doesn't have an outlet for his or her art, or the poet who either hasn't gone to an event to read or has been kind of afraid.
Yeah.
The writer who wants to put an essay out there in public, and there's not a place for it. performance art, which, unless you're on the sidewalk at an event of some other sort performing, there's not a lot where you can go out and do freelance performance art.
No, not a lot of venues for it.
So we're pretty wide open as long as it's suitable for a library environment.
Okay, and it's in all ages?
Absolutely. If there's a young person who wants to get out and try their chops in one form or another, we're glad to have them.
Yeah. A very non-pretentious environment, lots of support from
Absolutely.
the community. Any skill level. Getting
Absolutely.
to even if you've got a Grammy, we'll enjoy that too.
Now, from time to time, we will have guests who will come in to do, instead of a 15-minute spot, a guest may have a half-hour spot as a featured performer. One such will be, of course, the APL band, Echo and the Bats.
Mm-hmm. We've had them before, yeah. And you don't have any age requirements, so that's good. Will there be amplification? Can people expect to come and actually be able to plug in electric instruments, mics?
We will have a PA system set up and some available light amplification. We're not really expecting to get bands coming in and setting up Marshall stacks and playing
Right.
heavy metal for 15 minutes. But
They can pretend they're on that one unplugged show. Yeah.
But as far as essential amplification will be available, including microphones.
Well, that's excellent. What kind of microphones? I know you're pretty savvy about your microphones. Did you get anything special for these?
Well, in all likelihood, the bass microphones for vocals at least are going to be the good old reliable SM58. You can hammer a nail with it and then sing your lead vocals through it. And
I knew you'd have an answer for that. Are you going to perform anything during your shows?
I likely am. I like to have a spot where I can get up and play myself sometimes. So, yes, probably so.
So did this come from you personally trying to find places to play and just realizing there was a call for, like you said, all sorts of people with all different levels of comfort?
Yes, it as much as anything from my experience in the past of going to open mics, at times going when I didn't have the skill level that I would like to have had going in, and at other times when I did. And both the experience of getting up and performing, but also the experience of getting set to go up and perform and having someone else walk up and say, "Can I go up there with you?"
Right.
And the camaraderie that builds through someone who has seen you perform before and decides they would like to join you.
And you'll have support. People there are going to love no matter what you do. It's a great, comfortable environment.
That's why we're doing it.
So what are you looking forward to? Anybody in particular that you've got signed up already?
I'm actually looking forward to it all. I am so curious as to who and what sort of performances are, who's going to come in, what sort of performances are going to show up, because it's the first time that we're doing this.
Yeah.
February the 25th is the launch.
That's right.
And
that's Saturdays.
yes,
And they're always going to be on
they
Saturdays.
are always Saturdays, 8 months of this year. February, March, April, May. We have to skip June because of other events at the Carver Library. Then we have July, August, September, and October.
That's right. And I'll give you those dates right now. It's, of course, like you just said, February 25th. Then there's the March 25th, April 29th, May 27th, July 29th, August 26th, September 30th, and October 28th. Those are all Saturdays, and it's from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Carver Branch.
Yes, it'd be 15-minute time slots for performers, and first come, first serve to sign up for time slots. Sign up starts at 12 noon on the day of the performance.
Mm-hmm. And they're about 9 15-minute slots.
Yes.
5 minutes in between. Performances must be appropriate for the library setting. Can't say that enough.
Yes.
Please be aware we have ages of our kids of all ages in these events. And creatives from beginner to advanced are all invited to share their acoustic music, poetry, comedy, improv, theater, and performance art, which that's a wide open subject right there.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure a lot of people are aware there's the Dancing Man up north Austin around Lamar and, Runberg area. Always on the corner dancing. He's just full of happiness. And that's what you were saying earlier. That's about the only time you get to see this performance art anymore is when you accidentally walk upon him. Or
Interestingly, we have a dancing man at Carver as well. He comes in the mornings and he'll have his Walkman and his headphones on, and you see him dancing in the courtyard between the library and the museum.
Maybe it's the same guy. I don't know. It sounds familiar. I'm sure there's more than one dancer in Austin. Yeah, so that's it. You could do dancing, rapping,
Absolutely.
singing. Man, what are you going to perform? You got some of your original work?
I have some of my original work.
Do you do covers as well?
I do from time to time. I prefer to do my originals.
You were mentioning something about a cover band that your father was in?
My earliest exposure to actual music business was working in high school on weekends as a roadie for a top 40 band that my stepfather played in. It was Killer Chicken and the Dumplings.
See, I don't know if I saw that on a bill that I would expect top 40 music. It's a great name, but it definitely, I would expect to hear some rockabilly or something.
It was a very entertaining band, and roadieing for them was an adventure.
So do you credit your father a lot for your interest in music?
More my stepfather than my father.
Your stepfather,
Yeah.
excuse me. Awesome. Well, Bill, thanks again for coming in.
It is a pleasure as always.
I agree. You're always fun to talk to. You've got tons of things going on. I mean, music, movies. Thank you again for coming in on a second time to talk with us. Details about the Carver Branch's open mic events called Read It, Sing It, Let Us Hear It are online at library.austintexas.gov/events, or you can go over to Facebook at facebook.com/groups/APL open mic. Next up, we're going to play an excerpt from one of the library's Austin Creates podcasts. And Sev, I'll let you introduce this one.
Yeah, in this episode, host Aaron Negron interviews Austin rapper Anya about her work, her influences, and how she challenges herself to improve the content and the quality of her work. And I found it very inspiring as an artist myself about just the different types of music she listens to, the things she's inspired by, and just sort of the spectrum of things that she is interested in and how that impacts her music. So
yeah, and I don't want to give too much away, but also like how she touches on the need for collaboration more specifically in this genre.
What's your writing process? Are you getting a beat, kind of following the vibe that it gives you, or writing something and then looking for a beat that fits that? I mean, how do you work it?
Okay, that's a good question. And I think being an artist, it's important to figure out your creative process. And once you do, stick to it if it works. But I usually start with the beat. Yeah, I look for a certain style. I think about how it makes me feel, and I think about the story that I want to tell. For Kale and Yoga, this mixtape, these are all beats that I kind of just found that sounded good and sounded current and that struck something in me. But I've also worked with, totally original beats. I've gotten beats from world-renowned producers that, just kind of in my inbox that I haven't been able to write to. I read a statistic one time that said that like 75 to 80% of music listeners don't even listen to the lyrics. So I think the beat choice and beat selection is really important. So that's like 50% of that's half the battle. So yeah, I get the beat, think about how it makes me feel, write, rehearse. I'm like an obsessive rehearser. Like I have to be well rehearsed at everything that I do. But then that's what it is. Once I rehearse, get into the studio, lay it down, figure out if I like it or not, and that's what it is.
How are you influenced by comedy, by comedians? What do you study in them?
Okay, so there's a few different aspects to it, right? When you think about being a rap artist, and getting up on a stage by yourself, just you and a mic, maybe a DJ, but not necessarily a band or dancers even half the time, or I've never performed with dancers, but you have to think about ways to make a show entertaining and ways to keep people engaged. And I think I study comics because I can relate to that. I can relate to the feeling of, okay, now I just kind of they have to like something about me. They have to catch their attention, and I have to keep it for the next 30 minutes, you know? It's not always an easy thing. So yeah, I watch them, and as I was saying earlier, I watch their career arcs. I'm a hip-hop artist, but I don't really study hip-hop artists a lot. I study how they control their own material. Like, for instance, Louis C.K., who edits his own show. You're like, how does he find the time? Well, if he can do that, maybe I can sit down and record and produce my own music, or edit my own videos. I mean, I don't think there's any limit to what we can do. I think we limit ourselves and tell ourselves we can't. But I think, to me, it just goes back to being able to step out of the box and find out how to improve what it is that I'm already good at. How can I be better at it? How can I take it to the next level and make other people that are doing what I do pay attention and say, okay, what is she doing next? What is she doing now? So I try to be that. And then, like we were talking about earlier, relating hip-hop back to comedy, the concept of callbacks, about leaving Easter eggs and kind of recycling and repurposing your material for your longtime listeners who can, catch on and pick up something. I mean, that's pretty cool.
What are you into, like, right now? Like, what is influencing you now?
What is influencing me now? Okay, so of course we're off season for Game of Thrones. And you know what? I watch it, and I watch it with the captions on because I enjoy the rhythm of the writing. And I feel like there's something missing. Like if I'm not catching all the words, I feel like I'm missing something. So that's why I watch that. And I think it's just a really artistic way of speaking. And I like to be able to plant that in my music and hope people pick up on it. Right now, for the first time, I went to like a slam poetry thing at Mr. Catfish a few weeks ago. And it was really cool, just how animated they were, about how they used their pauses and, used the rise and fall of their voice to convey certain emotions. So I would say that's what I'm being influenced by.
I hear you speaking with a lot of reverence towards writing. Even when you talk about producing your own work, the process of writing is very crucial. And like you said, writing it out by hand, pen and paper. My general impression is that really great writers read a ton. Right. So yeah, what is the role of reading for you?
Some of the great poets have lines and stuff that stick with me. Like my favorite piece I think ever is If by Kipling. I think just the conciseness of the idea and, the way that it's concentrated, like every line is so chock full of what he wants to say. There's no extra. I think that kind of streamlined, direct, powerful way of writing is something that influences me too. So, in going back to writing again, I think it's good to be able to physically write it because you can always go through and you can cross out what you don't need. You can cross out, do I need that the? Do I need that but? Do I really need an and? What word could I be using better? Oh, this might rhyme better here and there. And I think that that's what a lot of rappers miss when they say that they don't write, is the opportunity just to go back and condense your work into something perfect and just to make sure that every word serves a purpose.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show.
On Co-op 91.7 FM, Hornsby, Austin, radio for people, not for profit.
Co-op Radio features roots programming every morning of the week. This is Rod Moog inviting you to join me for the country, swing, and rockabilly jamboree Thursday mornings from 9 to 11. Our country is classic, our swing is western, and the rockabilly is the early kind from the mid-1950s. Thursday mornings 9 to 11. Look for you there.
welcome back to Volumes. Just before the announcements, we were listening to an excerpt from the Austin Public Library's Austin Speaks podcast. This and many of the other Austin Public Library podcasts can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. And as I had mentioned, there's a really great part in that excerpt where she speaks on what the community needs, specifically the hip-hop community, but I think it translates to all art, that we need more collaboration and less, fighting each other for that title. But anyway, I digress. We did hear some events, but there were a few events I would like to put focus on that spoke to me particularly. We had some taxpayer tips classes coming up. What if you weren't stuck in your income tax bracket? What if you could make changes to improve your future taxation? Most of these are taking place on a Thursday, the first one being March 2nd, and it's from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Pleasant Hill branch. Then there'll be another one May 25th from 1 to 2 at the Twin Oaks branch. Another one June 15th, 1 to 2 p.m. at Spicewood Springs branch. And another one August 3rd, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Spada branch. Then a Tuesday, just to throw you off, September 5th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the North Village branch. Then another Thursday on October 26th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Southeast branch. And then Thursday, November 16th, 1 to 2 p.m. at the Old Quarry branch. Again, taxpayer tips. See if you can get away with more money. And then we have the Art of Serenity, finding peace through painting and drawing. That is on Fridays at 2 to 4 p.m. at the Little Walnut Creek branch over off Runberg Lane. And that's every Friday. So that's a really fun one to look forward to. And again, listeners can share what they love about the library on social media using hashtag MyLibraryIsLove. Give some input on what it is that makes you love the library so much. And once more, I'd like to give thanks to Bill Donaldson for joining us today. Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here.
And next week, we'll be speaking with Irene Magana Nova. I'm going to butcher this name, I'm sorry. Irene Magana Novarola about bilingual services at the Southeast branch. Additional information about the Austin Public Library can be found at library.austintexas.gov. And with that, I think we're finished for today. I want to say thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Details at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.
I want to give a special thanks to our audio engineer, DJ Harris, and our volunteer production assistant, Sev Corson.
And thanks to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and APL's very own Mike Wheat on percussion.
Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on koop.org Community Radio.